Rabbi Pape.
Chapter 20, Tehillim.
Some girls are here on Zoom. Shoshana is here, and
What? Alex is online.
Alex is here.
Good morning, Alex.
Good
We missed
morning,
you this
everyone.
morning. I'm glad to see you online.
Good morning.
Okay, Lam Natseyach, Mizmor LeDavid. There's a psalm for David HaMelech. Yancha Adonai B'Yem Tzara. Hashem should answer you on the day of your distress. That's what it says on the English side. Tzagel Hashem Elohei Yankev. Hashem, the God of Jacob, should support you. Yishlach Ezra HaMekadesh, and send help to you from his holy place. Umitzian from Jerusalem, Yisadecha. Give you strength. Yizker Kol Min Chesach. You should recall all your devotional offerings. Oilascha, your burnt offerings. Yidash Nasela should be graciously accepted. Iten Lechachel Valvecha. You should grant your heart's requests. B'chol Atzasacha Yamole, enable you to fulfill all your good resolutions. Miranana Bishu Asecha. We will rejoice in your salvation. Uvishem Eloheinu Nidga will raise the banner of God on high. Yamole Adonai Kol Mishalei Secha. Hashem should fulfill all your heart's desires. Ata Yodaiti. Now I know. Ki Hoshia Adonai Mashiach. Hashem saves his anointed leader, Mashiach. Ya'anehu Mishmei Kodesh, answering him from his holy heavens. B'gevures, with mightiness. Yesha Yamine, salvation from his right hand. They come with chariots and with cavalry and all kinds of weapons of war. We come with the name of God on our lips. They stumbled and fell. And we rose up and we're standing strong. Adonai, Hashem should answer us on the day that we call. Continuing in chapter 3. So we see yesterday how things develop on three stages: the intellectual stage, the emotional stage, and the activity stage of action. So that the right side is the side of inspiration and flow, development. So you have chachma, potential for things to come into being. And then in the emotional stage, that's love and commitment. And the action stage, that's giving it your all, getting it done. Getting it done. You know, like in athletics, when you're getting to the end of the game and you're a little bit behind and the whole team has to really work hard to score that extra goal and win the game. That's netzach. That's victory. That's how you win. That's the winning team. Then you have the coach. The coach sees certain weaknesses. He has to make certain cuts, make certain adjustments. Certain players have to have special training. That's Hoid. Hoid is cutting the faces of the diamond. Netzach and Hoid, they go together. If you don't have Hoid, it's not going to go across. People are not going to pay attention. Hoid is what makes the beauty of the thing. What makes it shine, which is translated sometimes as glory, the glory of the king. And Malchus is the completed structure. So Malchus goes together with the middle column here. What do we have in the middle column? We have the column of harmony. So on the intellectual stage, that's das, connection. Like he gives the example, Adam knew Hava, and they had a child. This one knew that one, and they had another generation. Going down to into the emotional stage, that's beauty, Tiferes, truth, represent. So these, and then stage of activity, again, we have the triangle with the middle column is communication, relating outside of it to something outside of yourself. On the left column, we have on the top, Chachma Bina, is development, understanding, measurement. Bina is a huge step down from Chachma. Huge. But you have, without Bina, you don't have Chachma. Without Bina, Chachma is just like a dot in an empty room. That's what it's compared to, just a dot. It has to have a frame. Chachma needs to be framed. Bina is the framing of the device. So in a relationship, that's the female element. She frames the whole relationship. She builds the home. And Bina, the root of the word Bina is the same as the word root for binyan, to build, building. So nitna la'isha, a woman is given Bina Yasera, an extra portion of understanding which gives her the strength to establish a home. And that's why matriarchs are so important in the Jewish family. They are the ones who actually implement things. Coming down to the heart, Bina in the heart becomes discipline. Laundry, dishes, cleaning the house, getting the kids off to school on time. I have witnessed once a disastrous relationship in which the mother wanted the children to be free to do whatever they felt like. They didn't feel like going to school. They didn't have to go to school. It was a disaster. It was a disaster. The children grew up without any framework. A child needs a framework. And as we come down to the lower level of action, this left column, which is Bina and Gevura. Bina is understanding. Gevura is the strength to enforce your understanding, to make it real. And Hoid is to then enables it to shine. And everybody looks and says, wow, that's beautiful. The three fathers of the Jewish people represent these three columns. Abraham is the initiator. He discovered the concept of an invisible God, and he taught the world about it through Chesed. On the right. Yitzchak, his son, continued his work, but with great might. Where opponents had destroyed the work of Abraham, Yitzchak reestablished it. He redug the wells. And his service is not a service without love. It's a service of digging to discover the living waters, the spark of Yiddishkeit that may be buried in the heart of a person. So we have Abraham on the right, Yitzchak on the left, and Yaakov in the middle. Now in the middle column, Yaakov, represented by Yaakov, gets its inspiration from higher than the whole order of things. Where does Chachma come from? Chachma comes from a higher level, higher than the whole 10. If 10 is the DNA of creation and creativity, what's higher than that? Higher than that is symbolized by the crown, like in Crown Heights. The crown goes above the head and signifies rulership and control. It's higher than inspiration. So a person who may be a wise advisor of the king will not necessarily have the ideas that the king has, because the king has a different perspective, because he is building the whole domain, the whole kingdom. And on this level of, that's called Keser, which means the crown, this level has two aspects to it, an inner and an outer. The other aspect of Keser is that Keser is the will of the king. This is what the king wants. Now it's up to the Chacham to have an inspiration. How are we going to get it? How are we going to do this? This is the king, what the king wants. There's a saying in the Talmud, Ein davar oimed bifnei haratzon. Ratzon is willpower. Ratzon is desire. Yehi ratzon, it should be the will of Hashem. Yehi ratzon, Yehi ratzon. Shibana beis hamikdash b'mheira v'yamein. Ratzon, willpower, it should be Hashem's will. Hashem's will is halacha. Hashem's will is the way the world we want. He wants the world to run. And this covers every aspect of our life, from first thing in the morning, Moda'ani, to last thing at night, Hamapil. That's Hashem's will. Why does Hashem want this? Because He wants it. On the Ratzon, we don't ask any questions. Some people like music. Why? They just like it. And similarly, some people have a talent for drawing and art because just that they just want to do that. And they overcome many obstacles in order to be able to do that. There was one boy who was very musical in Lipsker, and the mashpia complained that he was missing too many shiurim in yeshiva. The Rebbe sent money with a message to the Rosh Yeshiva that he should enable this boy to have musical lessons. The Rebbe sent money for him to have music lessons and to learn in the yeshiva. Nothing stands in the way of a strong ratzon. I'm sure you've seen movies or read books about people who have tremendous willpower and overcome unbelievable obstacles. I remember when I was a young teenager, reading a book. I never forgot about it. It was written by a man named Douglas Bader, I believe. He was British. And when airplanes were first invented, he loved flying. He loved flying so much. And he loved experimenting and flying, not flying upside down. And not enough to fly upside down. You have to fly upside down low. And one time he crashed. And he lost his legs. It didn't stop him. He got, what's it called, prosthetic or something like that, artificial legs. And he learned how to fly with artificial legs, and he fought in the war. And he was shot down, and he escaped. It's an amazing book called Reach for the Sky. It's an entertaining reading for young people. It's a very, very good book. But that illustrates the idea that nothing stands in the way of a strong will. Not because it doesn't recognize any obstacles. I must have it, no matter what. And this is God's will, that Moshiach should come and the world should run in a holy way, in a virtuous way. This is Hashem's will. That is the external aspect of Keser. That's what Keser is all about. Keser reveals the will of God. Where do we see it? We see it in halacha. That's why the Rebbe always says to people who are starting in Yiddishkeit to learn the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Once you get over the hump, Kitzur Shulchan Aruch is not written as an introduction to Judaism. It's written as a guide for people who are religious, but they want to check up on how to do the right thing. But it's the worst thing to show someone who wants to know what Yiddishkeit is all about, and they don't have a background, because it's a guide. How does it start? It starts with Moda'ani, wash your hands, and then it takes you into the bathroom and what you have to do in the bathroom. Not exactly inspiring. The second thing that people like to look up, probably you all did this, when they start reading the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, is what's married life all about? How does that work? So this is not the best book to show a newcomer to Yiddishkeit, but It does represent what is the will of God. This is the way Hashem wants things to work. And the will of God is like the cracking process to get refined oil out of raw oil. There's a whole process of refining it. And at the end, you get one drop of pure oil. That's halacha. So therefore, it's very important to learn halacha and to review it regularly and to practice it and have shiurim in halacha so that you do things right. Because if you don't do that, then you make mistakes. Oh gosh, I did that. I forgot all over again. One halacha that I find very difficult to work on. I work on it all the time, and that is not carrying on Shabbos. He says, you go out of the house, you finally got ready for Shabbos, and you're leaving the house, you have to stop and check your pockets and check where you think everything is okay, and then afterwards you come home and you find out that there was a spare button in your trousers pocket. Oh gosh. Fooled again. Didn't stop and check. Or after Yontif, when you're wearing Yontif ticket clothes and come Shabbos, and you're rushing to get to shul on time, and you don't check, and you've got something still in your pockets from Chol HaMoed, when you could carry. So you have to learn halacha, and because this is what Hashem wants. All the philosophy doesn't count if you don't do the right thing. If you do the wrong thing. And if you do the wrong thing, it's serious. It makes a blemish. What happens when you have a blemish? It's like you have a hole, you have a lovely shirt, and you have a stain. Or you have a hole. My wife sees a hole in my shirt. She says, I don't want you to wear that shirt anymore. How did I get a hole in the shirt? That's the external aspect. That's how Hashem's will relates to us, to the world, which is lower than his intentions. The world is where it really counts. So we have a lower aspect of the crown, which is Hashem's will, his Ratzoin, that's called Ratzoin. Hashem's will. That's the way Hashem's Ratzon comes down to us. He reveals to us what his desire is. What's the higher part? That's the way Ratzon is just for Hashem. There's a higher level. This is how Hashem's Ratzon is in Hashem itself. So obviously, this higher level is a source for the lower level. And the lower level, Hashem's Ratzon, becomes the source for Chachma. What is this higher level? This higher level is called Tanug. In other words, why does Hashem want us to eat kosher food? Why does Hashem want us to go to shul, daven, learn? Because he wants. That's his want. Why? And therefore we have to do it. We don't do it because it makes sense. Because we do it because it makes sense, so maybe someone will have a better reason and we'll stop doing it. We don't do the things that Hashem asks us to do because they make sense. We do them because he asks us to do it. And this is how we connect to him. This is how a commander connects to his troops. The troops don't ask the general, why do you want us to do this? A very fundamental lesson for young people learning in yeshiva is they have to learn discipline. They have to learn to obey orders. There's a beautiful long letter by the Rebbe about the establishment of Tzivos Hashem, the youth organization for Jewish children. And the Rebbe writes there that looking at society today, one of the things that the Rebbe sees is most lacking in society is a sense of discipline and responsibility, which in Hebrew is called Kabbalat Ol. Kabbalat Ol means taking upon yourself the yoke of service. There are two levels of Kabbalas Oil. One is Kabbalas Oil means I take upon myself, hereby I take upon myself the mitzvah of loving my fellow as myself, like we say in davening before we start davening. Or in a more general sense, hereby I take upon myself the service of Hashem, that I want to be Hashem's servant, and that means I'm going, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. Whatever Hashem says, that's good for me. How do I know if a thing is good or bad? How do I make this decision? Well, what's its source in Torah? If Torah says this is what is good, then that's what is good. And so he established, Sivas Hashem, that children should learn from an early age the importance of following orders, respect for orders, respect for the commander, because it's a very, very deep idea, girls, a tremendously deep idea. You have to think about it and integrate it into your whole view of life. That a commandment, that's an order, a commandment, that's an order, soldier, that's an order. The order connects the soldier with the general. The command connects the soldier with the commander. Because the order is the expression of the rotzoin of the commander, the will of the commander. And the will of the commander is deeper even than his wisdom. The will of the commander is the soul of the commander. It is rooted in the depths of the soul of the commander. So if you want to be connected to the commander, you have to connect yourself to the rotzoin of the commander. Very deep idea. A commandment means you have a commander. So a person says, well, I'll do a lot of commandments because they're beautiful, but there's certain commandments I cannot do. I can't bring myself. I have a problem. What am I supposed to say? I have a problem. It's a big question. There are different answers to the question, but it's a big problem. As a parent, I have learned not to push. Because when you push, sometimes the child pushes back. And you don't want the child to push back and push away. So we have to rely on the fact that children know what they're supposed to. After you've been through an educational system, you know from your family, from your society, from your learning, what you're supposed to do. And if you have a problem, you have a problem. The Rebbe once said to a person, if he has a problem, he should take if he has a headache, he should take an aspirin or a Tylenol. But that's not the answer for everybody. I remember when I was just moving into Yiddishkeit, and there was a new couple moved to the community. They were working on being Bali Tshuva. And I said to one of my rabbis, I said, why don't you talk to them about these things that they're not doing? They have to do these things. He says, it's true they have to do these things, but I'm not going to be the one to tell them. I don't want to push them away. Not everybody can take it like that. And when they hear that, and they welcome, not everybody welcomes being corrected. You have to be very sensitive. And there's another side to that, which I just heard yesterday. A very interesting interpretation. That Leah, was not beloved by her husband. He was tricked into marrying her. His true love was her twin sister. Very difficult relationship. And all of the matriarchs had trouble having children. Sarah couldn't have children. Rivka couldn't have children. Rachel couldn't have children. Hannah couldn't have children. All the matriarchs had trouble having children. Leah, knowing that she was not beloved, like her sister, was weeping the whole time. And therefore, Hashem had mercy on her, and she had children. She had a lot of children. And when Rachel couldn't have children, she imitated Sarah Imenu, couldn't have children. What did she do? She took the maid, the princess, Hagar, an Egyptian princess, and said to her husband, take her as your concubine wife, your mistress. Take her as your mistress. She'll be like a second. She won't be your wife. She won't have a ksuba. She won't be married to you, but she'll be married to you in a general sense, as a concubine. And Sarah said, maybe the pain that will cause me sharing my husband with this Egyptian princess will enable me to have a child. And she did. She had Yitzchak, at the age of 90. So Rachel imitated her and gave her mistress, gave her maid, her handmaid, to Yaakov as a concubine mistress, in an age when people could have more than one wife. And the concubine had a child, and Rachel gave him a name, because it was because of her. So Leah did the same thing. So Leah took her handmaid and gave her, when she stopped having children, she gave the concubine to Yaakov as a mistress, and he had a child. Her name was Zilpah. She was the youngest of the maids, the handmaids, and she had a child, and she called the child God. God became one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, Rabbi Gordon said in the online shir yesterday, his father told him a few days before his father died. He said, try to raise your children with wisdom so that they will do the right thing. He said, what do you mean? He said, the word, he said, Leah gave Zilpah to her husband, Yaakov, to have a child. And they had a child. But there was a certain degree of resentment afterwards. Even so, he would say, he could argue, one might argue on behalf of Yaakov, why should she feel resentment? She told him to do it. She told him to take Zilpah as a mistress, so that in the merit of that, Zilpah would have a child, and it would be her child. It would be like her child, and she gave the name to the child God. The word bagad, the root of the word, Rashi says, bagad means deception, trickery, betrayal. So she was hinting to Yaakov, you betrayed me. You betrayed me by taking Zilpah as a mistress. He says, what do you mean I betrayed you? I didn't go after her. I had no desire for her. You told me that I should take her as a mistress. Maybe it would help you to have another child. And you did. She said, yeah, it's true that I told you to do it, but you didn't have to listen. You could have said, no, I couldn't do that. You're my wife. I can't do that to you. So, but you told me to do it. He says, that's the sensitivity that a person has to have for others. Because it could be that your children are going to grow up and they're going to do things that you know are not right. And they're going to argue with you. And they're going to argue very strongly with you, and you're not going to want to throw them out of the house. So eventually you're going to give in, and you're going to let them have their way, and you won't want to be a domineering parent, forcing your children to keep Torah and mitzvahs, because then they could rebel against it. He says, so you have to be very wise, but make sure they do the right thing and don't do the wrong thing, because later they're going to grow up and say, why did you let me do the wrong thing? Why didn't you stop me? Why didn't you correct me? So why did I correct you? You were arguing with me every day. Still, that's what he said. It was like his dying words. Rabbi Gordon's father's dying words. Raise your children to make sure they do the right thing. Okay, now, just before we finish now, just to conclude, we'll come back to this point tomorrow. The outer level, the external level of Ratzon is the way Hashem's Ratzon relates to us, what Hashem wants out of us in the world. What happens? You know this from your own experience. You have a roommate. You ask her to please put the cap back on the toothpaste. Never happened. Either she does it or she doesn't do it. If she does it, how do you feel? I have a good roommate. Ask her to make her bed. Ask her to sweep, to do the dishes. Don't leave dirty dishes in the sink. Make your bed. If she does it, you're happy that you have a good roommate. And if she doesn't, you're not happy. That's called agmat nefesh. You have what's the English word for it? I can't think of an English word for it. Heartache. You have heartache. So you want to raise your children to do the right thing, and you have nachas. Nachas. Nachas means inner pleasure. Inner pleasure. So that when we do mitzvahs, the Ratzon of God, why does he ask us to do it? Why does he ask us to do these things? Because deep down it causes him a deep inner pleasure. And it says that when Hashem foresaw the deep inner pleasure that he would have when he imagined Jewish people doing mitzvahs, he created the whole world. So why is the halacha the way it is? Because that's the way Hashem wants it. Why does Hashem want it? Because it's geshmak, it's just delight. Tanug means delight. It causes him great inner delight. And that's the inner level of the crown. That's the inner life in the whole of the creation of the world. L'chaim. And that's the secret formula for kids who become frum, who become religious, and their parents get all upset. But in the end, the parents get used to it, and the child gets married, and they have grandchildren. The parents were upset. They handle the children on their knees, and they laugh, and they're so happy. It all worked out. Is that a good lesson today? Rabbi Majeski wonders, why don't we go faster? School's on so, you didn't finish 3 chapters yet. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Oy nefashos v'avos v'chesed al kol ma shebarasa, v'hachayis b'hem nefesh kol chaim baruch chai hayalamim. So the girls are going to complain that we're not going anywhere. What can I do? Don't stand up. Please don't stand up. It embarrasses me. You don't have to stand up. Just come down on time. That's the main. Simple, joy and happiness. So at school, can we have school tomorrow, Thanksgiving? Yeah, we'll see, 8:30, that's a You know what my wife says all the time, she has a very limited vocabulary, because she has stroke, and she's built up a vocabulary. And one thing she likes to say, she says, I love you, I love you, I love you.
Have you ever taken, what's your doing in the Thanksgiving Day? What people doing in America? Turkey, huh?
In the morning, we watch Macy's Day Parade. Macy's Day Parade, we have this big parade, it's in Manhattan, we have school weekend though. But you can watch it on your phone. It's very cool. It's also very cold, I never suggest going. I did it 3 times, I hate it.
What are you thinking?
Yeah. So, it depends. If you really are celebrating Thanksgiving, you're thanking the pilgrims who did something, I don't even know. But really, it's just a day of like thanking, for your friends.
Being figured as you.
It's just a day of gratitude, a day of thanking
Everybody
for what you have. If you're religious, you thank yourself for what you have. If you're not religious, you just
thank you.
So every day is for that.
Yes, and it should be a Thanksgiving.
But in reality, it's like when the pilgrims slaughtered a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pilgrims. I mean, no, we have to be See, in the middle of pilgrims are. I don't even know what pilgrims are. The white hatters, black lighters. The first aliens, no, we're the first aliens. The other black hatters.
See you guys soon.